Hi, everyone. It's 1 o'clock. We'll get going. My name is Barbara Rosenberg. I am with ElderWorks. I'm a senior care consultant. Also on assisting us is Emily Grosinger, who is our office manager for ElderWorks and the chief of do all for every layer of what we do. Just a reminder that this event is being recorded to Facebook Live and will also be on YouTube for later on. So if you have information that's really interesting to you, you can rewatch it or you can pass it on to your friends. ElderWorks Educational Services is a not-for-profit 501c3 corporation whose mission is to provide older adults, seniors, and families information, referrals, and guidance for senior living, home care, and support services to help make appropriate decisions. This includes education on senior topics for community members such as yourselves and professionals. The guidance we provide will help seniors stay home well or transition successfully into a new senior housing opportunity or home care. We are not, as a not-for-profit, this is how we're funded. We're funded by our referral. So we greatly appreciate anybody that needs any kind of help in any capacity. If there's Medicare, Medicaid questions, if there's any kind of indigents or people that just are without means, happy to send them our way. We will just pass on some resources. Also, our directory is online at elderworks, elderwerks.org. Under resources, you can find our directory. You're also more than welcome to come to our office at 251 East Northwest Highway to pick up a directory at any time, and that is in Palatine from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I'd like to go ahead and introduce Jackie Melinger and Lisa Lipton from My Personal Bookkeeper, who not only manage books, but they help with so many other household affairs, doctor appointments, all kinds of insurance information, and their consultants are amazing that really go in and help our families. And today's topic is scams. Be alert and aware. So without further ado, Jackie and Lisa.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for those kind words and introduction and for inviting us here today. And also thank you to the team at ElderWorks for the great work that you all do. We're glad to have the opportunity to share some crucial information with all the participants today. Time will be left at the end for questions and for sharing. If you have stories of your own as we go through some of these scams, I'm sure that some of you unfortunately have experienced some of it. So we're happy to hear it if there's time, but let's just try to get to the end.
Absolutely. And I can unmute, you know, there's a total of 12 people. So I can unmute if you want to have some kind of a dialogue or conversation.
Great. Okay. And in the meantime, if you don't want to forget your question, you can put it in the chat. Okay, so we're going to get started. So you're probably wondering who we are and why we have knowledge to share with you. I am Jackie Melinger. I am the co-owner along with my husband of My Personal Bookkeeper since 2018. And my husband and I also co-own a home instead caregiving agency since 2001. So 20 years of experience in senior care. But then prior to that, I was a nursing home admissions manager and a licensed nursing home administrator. So really my whole adult life has been spent with seniors. And I currently run the senior life of my synagogue. And I guess I just have always had a love for seniors. So I do whatever I can. But the most important roles that I have played and the best experiences I have had in my life are those of being a daughter, a niece, a wife, a mother, an aunt, and a friend. And I'm always helping people out as I can. And those are all very important people in my lives. Important roles. I'll turn it over to Lisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us today. I'm Lisa Lipton. As you can see, my role with the company is Community Outreach and Development Manager, which is basically a fancy way of saying marketing. My main role is really to spread the word about My Personal Bookkeeper to people such as yourselves and to the team at ElderWorks and provide some support to our daily operations. I also work as a client advocate for one client who lives in Skokie, and that's been a wonderful experience. I have over 20 years of marketing experience working for various consumer-based companies. And I've also done some volunteer work for the American Cancer Society, the Longevity Foundation, and Pilsen Junior Tennis Camp. And as Jackie had said, most importantly, my roles as daughter, sister, aunt, niece, and friend. So before we jump into the presentation, I'd like to share a little bit about my personal bookkeeper and the services we offer. So again, you know why we're in a position to talk with you today about this subject. So my personal bookkeeper provides our clients with help managing and organizing their day-to-day financial and household affairs. Some of our most requested services include bill pay. So this includes manual writing of checks, online bill pay, and we can set up auto pay. We also help with tax organization. So basically getting important documents together for our client's accountant and working with the accountant to make sure he or she receives what's needed in a timely fashion and to make sure nothing's late and there's no penalties charged. We also help with insurance claim management. So we'll review the EOBs, the explanation of benefits, and if there's any issues with claims, we can help resolve those. We review mail. We all get a lot of mail, and sometimes it's hard to decipher what's the important mail from the junk. So we will help go through that and make sure the important mail gets taken care of. We also do a lot of work with filing and organization, whether it's setting up a physical filing system in someone's home or creating something digitally in the cloud, whatever the client needs. So basically all of our services are customizable based on the needs of the client. And we have 16 bonded and insured client advocates that work directly with the clients. We offer a free, no obligation consultation. And if you'd like any more information, please feel free to reach out to Jackie or myself. We'll provide our contact information at the end of the presentation. And you can also visit our website at mypersonalbookkeeper.com.
So I would like to just give you a preview of what you are going to learn today. We're going to talk about actually what is a scam and then what scams are prevalent now. How can you recognize when you're being scammed? How can you avoid being the victim of fraud and identity theft? We'll give you some good tips. And what you should do if you think you have been scammed. Sometimes, as good as we try to be, we fall prey to these things, and it's important to know what to do immediately to rectify the situation.
So hitting the number one item on the list Jackie just reviewed, what is a scam? A scam is a deceptive scheme or a trick used to cheat someone out of something, and usually that something is money. Scams are often perpetrated by mail, phone, or email, and those performing the scams may be trying to steal credit card or bank account numbers, Social Security and Medicare numbers, and one-time or recurring payments. And these scammers are often working on building files. So they may gather your birth date from one source, your Social Security number another way, and your bank account information later. So if they're only asking for one thing at a time, it doesn't seem as suspicious as if they ask for all three pieces of information at once. But regardless, you should be suspicious even if you're asked for one of those items, and make sure you do your due diligence. No surprise that scams have been running rampant the last 18 months for several reasons, the main one being the pandemic. Unfortunately, as we know, more people are desperate. They were stuck at home and looking for easy ways to make money. And seniors were also homebound, isolated from family and friends. This continues to make them more susceptible to the person on the phone offering assistance. And some isolated older adults have been spending more time on the computer and falling prey to fake emails and links on social media. So we're here today to help you identify some of those situations and how to handle them.
So why is identity theft so prevalent besides the pandemic? Why does this go on? This quote was somebody who worked in the security area, and he really investigated a lot of identity theft. And he said that criminals look at identity theft and say, well, only 1 in 700 criminals get convicted of it. That's not a lot. And they look at check forgery And they say that for every 1,400 forgers arrested, only about 123 get convicted, and about 26 go to jail. The rewards are great, but the risks are very slim. That's one of the reasons that make it very popular. Very hard to prove it or to catch these people. So I guess it's worth it to them to try. We're going to talk about some common scams, and this is where you may be having some aha moments or some stories you might want to tell us later if it happened to you. There's the grandchild in trouble scam, which is where somebody calls your home, usually late at night or early morning, so they get you kind of groggy and out of it when you were sleeping, and they say, "Hi, Grandma, this is Susie. I'm in trouble. Can you help me, please? I need you to wire me money. I don't want my mom and dad to find out. They're going to be so angry at me. Will you please help me?" And actually, I started by saying, "This is Susie." A lot, they don't tell you the name. They say, "Hi, Grandma, I need your help." And then you, thinking it's your granddaughter, say, "Susie, is that you?" And you've now given them your name, and they can sound more believable to you. So going back on how I started by talking about it. But either way, at that point, then you've kind of fallen prey, and you're worried about your granddaughter, and you don't want her to feel bad. So you give her your credit card number over the phone, or you go ahead and take wiring instructions and wire money to her because you just want to help your grandchild. This actually does happen. It sounds like maybe something you thinking logically right now you would never do, but if they catch you and they really sound like a teenager or something, you might really fall for it. And I know of my friend's parents fell for it and realized the next day that they had fallen for it, but they were too embarrassed to call their daughter and tell her that they did this. And they waited a couple days until they finally called their daughter and told her. And by that time, their bank account had been cleaned out, and it was really unfortunate. Sometimes you may receive an unsolicited call from someone who claims to work for the Social Security Administration, and they tell you there's a problem with your benefits. But if you can, confirm your Social Security number, give me your Social Security number, and then give me your bank account information, I can reinstate your deposit into your bank account. That should never happen over the phone. Please don't ever give your Social Security number out on the phone to someone who called you. If you're talking to your accountant and you need to give your Social Security number, that's a different story, but never give that type of information out. You might also receive something like that as an email, and there's a link in the email so that you can register for a free service that will protect you from fraud. And then you have to put in your Social Security number to confirm, and then your birth date and your bank account number. Again, anything that's unsolicited is just not a good idea. You need to check it out for yourself, and we'll talk more about that. You may also receive calls from someone claiming to be from the IRS, telling you have not made your payments, they have not received them. And if you do not take care of this right now, there will be a warrant out for your arrest. I've received those messages, I've received those calls, and I just hang right up, or I would never call them back. Please be aware that the IRS does not contact you by phone and does not quickly put out a warrant for your arrest. If you have a problem with the IRS, you will receive snail mail, postal mail, and you should discuss with your accountant before you do anything. But all of these above scenarios are attempts to get your Social Security number and any other personal identification that they're asking for. It's like a bank account or credit card number, and this all is identity theft. You're muted.
I realized that. Sorry about that, everyone. As I mentioned earlier, COVID-19 continues to provide new vehicles for identity theft and scams. Certainly, some of the things I'm going to mention aren't as prevalent now as when the vaccine first became available, but it's still a good idea to be aware. And, we all don't really know what the future holds necessarily, so good to be aware. So you should be wary of the following regarding vaccines. If you get a request that you pay out of pocket to receive a shot, or get on a vaccine waiting list. You should be suspicious of that. Also, if you see ads for vaccines on websites, social media posts, emails, or you receive phone calls other than from your county, your healthcare provider, or potentially Walgreens or a CVS, those are suspicious. And also marketers offering to sell or ship doses of COVID-19 vaccines. Also, our Attorney General, Kwame Raoul, warned people early on not to share their vaccination card on social media. He said that thieves can use this information on your card to access and steal additional personal information. Also, his office has been investigating reports of fake vaccination cards being sold online. And as you may have heard, this has sadly become a big business. Proliferation of vaccine mandates is creating a black market boom for counterfeit proof. So you have to be very, very careful with this information. And I just read an article that said in New York City, a fake vaccination card is as easy to buy as marijuana now. Just so you can take that. Also, an alert was issued in late March about phony emails and text messages disguised as surveys about COVID-19 vaccines. Supposedly, it was sent out by shot producers such as Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca, and was promising a free reward if you provide a bank or credit card information to cover a small fee. So that certainly should never happen. Also, please be very skeptical of fundraising calls or emails for COVID-19 victims or virus research, especially if they pressure you to act fast and request payment by prepaid debit cards or gift cards. You should also be wary of phone calls or emails from strangers urging you to invest in a hot new stock from a company working on coronavirus-related products or services. I mean, if you get any call urging you to invest in a hot new stock, you probably should be suspicious, but certainly something related to COVID, be very suspicious. And lastly, with more companies requiring employees to be vaccinated, cybersecurity firms are reporting emails that supposedly are coming from the human resources departments requesting workers' proof of vaccination. And there's links in the message that direct targets to a fake sign-in page where scammers can harvest your login credentials. So again, as new developments occur with the pandemic, scammers are keeping up with the latest and the greatest.
I'm sure that many of you like to donate to charities of your choice when you are able, but you need to beware here too. If you receive emails or calls that are high pressure to give immediately, beware. You should never be pressured into giving a donation. A charitable organization, you can always look them up online. If they're pressuring you on the phone, ask them to send you information. You do not have to just give right away over the phone. Same thing with an email from an organization. Rather than click on their link, it could be a virus. Just go open another browser tab and search for that organization yourself and look into it and decide on your own time if you want to make that donation or not. Something that's really common is to over-donate. And we receive repeated requests from the same organization, or you might receive a thank you email from charities that you never donated to. And there's a link in there and you want to check it out. Again, I would not click on links in an email. I would always just try to do the research yourself or pick up the phone and call them. And so, as I was saying, it's common to over donate. What happens is once you've given to an organization, you'll usually continue to get mail from them month after month. And sometimes it's easy to think, oh, I meant to give to them last month, but I must not have because they're still emailing me or they're still sending me mail, and write another check. And I've seen this many times with our clients that they're donating over and over again, much more than they meant to. So it's really important to keep a list of your donations and make sure that you're donating to who you want to and the amount that you want to. And always look back before writing another check. If a charity requests payment through a wire transfer, a money order, or a gift card, something doesn't seem right about that, you shouldn't have to do that. You can certainly go on your bank and pay online or write your check, but don't question it if they're asking you for a wire transfer. And it's important to do your research, even on charities. There's 2 places you can do that: charitynavigator.org and give.org. They will give you information and ratings on each charity organization. So be sure to go there and look them up before you make your donations.
So as most of you know, with the pandemic, there was a huge increase in online shopping. So there are many online shopping and delivery scams to be aware of. And it's a good reminder now, as it's mid-September, and believe it or not, we'll be heading into holiday season soon. So things to keep in mind. If you're shopping online and you see discounts in excess of 55% or something advertised as bargain basement prices, you should be a little suspicious. If it's a clearance or a going out of business sale, it's okay. Otherwise, those are pretty deep discounts for the most part. The second thing is if you see offers that ask for a payment by wire transfer or money order, similar to what Jackie mentioned about charities, that's something to be suspicious of. I haven't come across that too much, but it's definitely something that's out there. And depending on the retailer that you're looking at, gift cards may be all right. Another thing to keep on the lookout for is poor website design or sloppy English used on the website. Legitimate retailers take a lot of care and pride in the presentation of their website. So if you see something that looks, for lack of a better word, a little schlocky, you should be suspicious. Also, if the contact options are limited, you should be wary. If they only have a fill-in contact form, or the customer service email is a Yahoo or a Gmail account and not a corporate one, like mypersonalbookkeeper.com, you should be concerned. URL, so the URL is what you enter in the top to go to the website. If you see a URL with extraneous words or characters or unusual domains, for example, .bargain, .app, or maybe even a foreign domain versus a .com or a .net or a .org, you should be a little concerned. And lastly, and I know I get these all the time, mainly through text, something from UPS or FedEx that has a link embedded in the text if you want to check on delivery or a special offer. You should be wary of that unless you've explicitly signed up to get text notifications from UPS or FedEx, but these, you would be able to tell the difference between a valid UPS text and a scam.
So some real life examples of scams that we've seen are our bookkeepers, we call them client advocates because they do so much more than bookkeeping. And this is a prime example. When they go into the home of somebody, they really are looking to try and protect our clients from identity theft and fraud. So one that was found was this elderly woman. She would always save her mail. Every time the client advocate comes, they go through the mail, but she would sometimes get things ready. And she had a form all filled out that said she could increase her monthly Social Security benefit by completing this form and returning it. And she had to fill in her Social Security number and her credit card number, that she would be charged a one-time fee, but then would forever get a higher Social Security amount each month. And when our client advocate looked at it, she said, absolutely not. Don't send this in. It's not real. That is not how Social Security works. And she even, Googled the name on the letter and showed her that it was fraud. We had a gentleman who was, starting to become a little bit confused and disoriented. And hadn't really been dealing with his mail very well or watching his bank accounts closely. And when our client advocate started going through bank statements with him, she found that he stopped receiving his Social Security deposit about a year ago. And it didn't show up anywhere anymore. And together they called Social Security and found out that the bank account had been changed about a year ago to a different bank account at a bank in California. And it was fraud. Someone got a hold of his information and was able to start stealing his Social Security benefit. And had he never checked it or had somebody else check it, that would have gone on, and he was missing out on money that he deserved. Something that started about a year and a half ago and has become a very, very big scam, very prevalent, is that people are filing unemployment claims in different people's names and getting away with it a lot of the time. And we had one where the client's husband had been deceased for 2.5 years, and all of a sudden she received notice about his unemployment benefits. And we had to file with the Illinois Department of Employment Security to let them know that he was deceased and it was somebody else receiving this money. Third-party electric suppliers, there are so many of those out there now. And I just say beware of changing from ComEd to a third-party supplier, because what happened to a few of our clients is that when you sign up, they give you an introductory very, very low rate. And 3 months later, that rate triples or quadruples, and it ends up being much higher than if you had just stuck with ComEd. So you really need to check them out and watch. And I would beware of making that kind of change. And then being taken advantage of by a trusted professional. This one really pains me, because it is so important for you to have trusted professionals in your life that you can go to. And this one really did a terrible thing, but she was a nurse in a building that a lot of seniors were living in, and she was going beyond what her duties were as a nurse. She was helping clients to order things online and helping them order food from a restaurant, anything where she could get a hold of their credit card number. And when our client advocate started working with one of these people, she started looking at credit card statements and saw all these strange charges that didn't seem like they would belong to this person. And they were at restaurants that were far away. And then all of a sudden there were just random charges of hundreds of dollars that this woman was putting on the credit card. We had to confront her and ask for documentation. And when she couldn't provide it, we had to turn her into the leadership of the facility, and she was fired. And it was found that she was doing this to many residents, not just one. So, if you see that someone is doing something that really isn't their job, I would beware and steer clear of that. It's nice of them to try to be helpful, but not when it comes to your credit card.
So we've shared a lot of information with you about various scams. And so I just want to kind of summarize what to do to protect yourself. And a lot of this has been said multiple times already, but we can't reinforce it enough. So the first thing is you should lock your devices like you lock your front door. So that includes your computer, your smartphone, your iPad. Any digital device you have should be password protected and set to lock in a certain amount of time if you're away from it. Also, you should hang up if someone calls out of the blue and claims to be from the Social Security agency. Government agencies will never call to ask for personal information or money. Most likely, if they want that, it'll be through snail mail. They may want it, but it won't be through a phone call. So don't take those. Again, something we've repeated multiple times throughout this presentation, don't share personal information such as your Social Security, Medicare, and credit card numbers in response to an unsolicited call, text, or email. Also, you can set up notifications with your bank for credit card charges over a certain amount. It can come to you immediately as a text. You should try not to use your debit card for purchases. I know a lot of people like to do that, but if someone has your debit card, they can drain your bank account. So if you use a credit card, it's fairly easy to catch it and you can dispute those charges. If a robocaller leaves a phone number on your voicemail, you shouldn't call it back. And you can also try to install some type of robocalling blocking application on your smartphone, or you can potentially sign up for a service from your provider. The 4 major cellular carriers, which include AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint, provide tools to help you identify, filter, and prevent suspected robocaller numbers from dialing or texting your phone. So that's certainly worth looking into if you want some additional protection. And also, just we should all use our common sense. If you receive a call from an unknown number or one that doesn't show up on caller ID, don't answer it. If it's an important call, the person will most likely leave a message and you can get back to them. Also, just an overwhelming theme from this presentation, don't click on links or download files from unexpected emails, even if the email address looks like a company or person you recognize. Make sure just to check it out, make sure it's on the up and up. And this is ditto for text messages and unfamiliar websites. When you're in doubt, you should try to contact the entity that supposedly sent the suspicious, potentially fraudulent message, but don't click on anything. And try, if you're going to contact them, try to use a phone number or a website from maybe an old invoice that you have versus going off of the message that you received, just to make sure you're calling a valid number. If you do receive a suspicious call, you should ask for the name of the company and the individual, and then hang up and do some research. There's no harm. You don't have to commit to anything up front, and you should never feel pressured to do so. And if you think you have fallen for a scam, you should talk with individuals such as your family members or a trusted professional for immediate advice. There's absolutely no shame in being scammed. It can happen to anyone. These scammers are smart, they know what they're doing, and they can easily pull the wool over your eyes. The most important thing is to report it and rectify it right away. And the last thing I want to say, which isn't on the slide, but a life lesson that we've all learned at some point is, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. So beware of those types of offers.
Good advice. So reporting is very important, because the more reports they get of a scam, the more they can investigate and start to see patterns. If you think you have received a fraudulent call, a scam call, or if you think you've been taken advantage of, you can go to identitytheft.gov and report it directly to the Federal Trade Commission. You can also go to the Attorney General for Illinois Consumer Fraud Hotline, and you can call their number, or you can go online to let them know. There's another federal government, reportfraud.ftc.gov. You can go there and follow their instructions. And then there's also the AARP Fraud Helpline, where you can call and ask questions. And there's somebody there who's very experienced in this and will help you. And we will send out, we'll send Emily all of this in a document so that she can send that out to all of you. So it was a lot of information pretty quickly. So now we're able to answer questions, and happy to hear your stories too, if you've got something that maybe struck a chord here.
Do you have any questions in the chat? Hold on, Carol. Go ahead, Carol, ask your question. Carol, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, I have something to share. I'm a professional partner of, I'm Carol Brand. I'm a professional partner of ElderWorks in the community, as you folks are. And being in business for 37 years, I've come across a host of things, and two things that jump out that I wanted to share is one of my most astute and smartest clients retired engineer from a defense contractor. He's was in his early 70s, hadn't been retired that long. His wife was there at home with him, and he took a call from someone and then zipped out of the house so quickly, not telling his wife. She had no idea where he went, and he was healthy. I believe he was diabetic, but nothing that wasn't controlled. And he was gone for a couple of hours. And his wife was just about ready to call the police when he pulled back into the driveway. And she's like, where have you been? What have you done? And he had gone out to Target, multiple Targets. That's why he was gone for 2 hours, and purchased over $2,000 of gift cards. And in the car, calling back the people that called him with the authorization code. So the money was already taken out of the account. And the callers had claimed that they had something to do with his bank, and this was a way to rectify their account. This is an investment client that calls us for his every move, that is very much in tune with his finances, very smart engineer. And even someone like that could fall victim to something like that. And there's no dementia going on there at all. Something happened, and it just seemed like the thing to do. And they also told him, you don't need to tell your wife about this, because it's embarrassing. They claimed it was a mistake he made on the account, so that he shouldn't tell his spouse about it.
Yeah, they're looking for knee-jerk reactions, right, Jackie?
Absolutely. And it can happen at any age. It happened to a friend of mine, and they told her bill was past due and they were going to shut off her power or something like that. And she gave them her bank account number on the phone. As soon as she hung up, she realized what she did. But sometimes they catch you in a moment and they scare you.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
right? You don't have to have dementia. So
I have one more if you'd like to hear one more.
Sure.
This is another senior man, but again, this is somebody in his early 70s. He was not my client, but he was another smart guy. He was an investor. He was owned a ton of real estate. He worked for Walgreens in sales and operations. And I'm giving this background because it can happen to anyone, even the smartest people, but big investor in real estate. I run into him at a Northwest Community Hospital Foundation fundraiser, and he's sitting in the chair there outside the door for the dinner, and mentioned something about, hey, how you doing? And I'm waiting for my checks from Costa Rica. And I just didn't like the sound of that. So checking with him, he said that everything was okay. He was really just a neighbor and a community guy, and I couldn't really get anything out of him. But in probably the next 24 months, he ends up calling the director of the foundation, asking for some money back from donations that he had given the hospital because he needed the cash. So the foundation director did the right thing and questioned him back, and it was $4 million was gone.
Oh my God.
I think she was from Palatine. I hate this, that every time something bad happens, there's somebody from Palatine, because this is where I live and my business is for 37 years. But this woman had called him and told him, you send this 100,000 here, and then more and more and more and more and more, and then you're going to do that, and we're going to do this. And he's waiting for these checks all the time. So the FBI got involved, and they set up a sting, and they finally told him to tell her, hey, I want to meet you. Well, she claimed she was from New York, but she wouldn't, but she was going to meet him in New York. So they sent somebody out to New York, to the airport, to meet her, to say hello, just so that the client, or the gentleman who wasn't going to go on the plane, could meet her face to face. So the story went. So let's say her name was Maria. So when the planes land and his plane would have been down, and the FBI guy is off the plane, they say Maria, and she turns around and looks, and they got her. But it was $4,000. It was in the papers, and it was. I mean, this is, if you were to see this guy's holdings, he still has some money left, but it was not liquid at the time, and that's why, if he hadn't gone to the hospital foundation to ask for that $100,000 back, he probably would have been wiped out. But
Wow.
it can happen to anyone. And I think this is part of it. And I'll conclude with that it doesn't matter who you are, but people in our business, if you see something, say something. I'm the vice president of the Palatine Police Pension Board as well. And there are people with every community that can help with this and investigate some of these things in case we're afraid or, hesitant to tell friends or family. There are people with every police department that can help us. So thank you for letting me share that. I just like to get that story out there, and was interested to meet both of you as well.
Absolutely. I've got another, hold on just a moment, please. I've got another in the chat. There's a comment, do you recommend deleting the Messenger application on Facebook? I have received strange messages that include links.
I mean, I use Messenger. If you use it to communicate with people, then you can keep it. Don't delete it. I use it all the time. When you get a message from someone you don't know, don't even open the message.
Right, don't open the message, or, you know, you can block the person.
Right.
Use your Facebook settings to not allow people to post your wall. Use your Facebook settings. You need to really understand settings and privacy and shortcuts. Correct, Jackie, on Facebook?
Correct. You know, my mother-in-law, somebody hacked her Facebook and was using her photo on their profile, and I don't know, it was a crazy thing. And we had somebody come in and work with her to go through her Facebook and set all the privacy settings so that couldn't happen again. But you can get hacked, and there are privacy settings, so we should be using them.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for the chat that I can bring up to Jackie and or Lisa? Anything else? Okay, I think you covered so much, and it just makes so funny. I was in the midst of this texting my 22-year-old child who's working in the basement, and just saying, Jacob, you know, just things that come to mind, you know, just to be so careful, like you're in a new job, you know, you have a voter's registration card, you know, we're just called to jury duty for the first time. Don't answer this, don't answer that. Like it's anyone.
It's anyone, it's any age. And if I could, you know, leave you with probably my best piece of advice, there'd be two. One is to not be embarrassed. Not feel silly or stupid for falling for something, because it can, will, and has happened to probably every single one of us at some point. And you need to just work through it. So you need to have trusted individuals that you can go to that might be able to help you, whether it's your financial planner, your accountant, your attorney, a close friend, a family member. But sometimes it takes more than one. And sometimes if you're just not sure, you should just ask somebody, and they may see like, no, don't do that. But I think that's really important.
Carol wanted to say one more thing.
Sure.
Go ahead, Carol. Carol.
There we go. All right. I just wanted to add one more thing. One of the things we work with, but not on an individual basis. So this is not a financial rewarding thing for me, but just something that I want to share. Since 2014, some of you probably have it, is identity theft protection.
Mhm.
And I happen to like LifeLock because that's the plan I work with my group clients. And they have promotion codes out there once in a while, but basically anytime your name, date of birth, and social security number is used to open an account or make an inquiry, apply for a mortgage, unemployment benefits, you are notified. And I wouldn't leave home without it. And the thing I wanted to share here is that I have asked if I had to be limited as to how I use this, but I was given a 35% promo code, and I share it with people when clients ask for it. So if anybody's on who has had any problems, they will even go retroactive back 1 year and help somebody with set up a resolution team. If you've had your identity stolen and you're struggling with someone's applied for a mortgage or credit card in your name, or your life has been wrecked like some people's have. So again, I work with this product on a group basis, and on an individual basis, we're not compensated. I just happen to have this promo code because I do work with them, and you can hear them on the radio 10-15% once in a while, but I have this 35. So if anybody is interested in that, maybe you can get a hold of Jackie and Lisa, or through the Elderworks office, and they can communicate with me, because you folks don't know me. So
Thank you for that.
yeah, you're welcome.
That is a good point. Also, one thing that's helpful or important to do is to either put an alert or a lock on your credit with the 3 credit bureaus. Putting a lock on it is a little more difficult, but you can just put an alert, which is what I have with my family, that if anybody were to try and open any type of account in my name, my husband's name, or my children's names, I would be alerted by the credit bureaus that somebody is trying to do that. And when we were applying for a mortgage recently, it complicated things a little bit. They had to call us to make sure it was really us. And that's fine with me, because I'll take that little extra layer of protection.
Great. Any other comments? There's a nice, in the chat, you'll see an iPhone which has a feature to silence unknown callers, so I can block that number. Listen, if someone's calling you also and nothing goes to a voicemail, just delete all those recent calls and block those numbers.
Mhm.
Very easy to block numbers
Right.
on phones so they don't call you again. So anyway, well, thank you everybody for your time and contributions today. Jackie and Lisa, you're invaluable. And please pass this recording on to folks on YouTube. I know it's already on my Facebook that we recorded this. And thank you for all the valuable information, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.